welcome to the virtual class conducted by ODM Public School. This is Ricky Pal, and today in this video I'm going to take up history, first chapter, that is nationalism in India. With this, we'll try to understand the nationalism that all started in India, when it was all started, how it was all started. So let's start our video. This is the name of the chapter, Nationalism in India. So this is the very first part, and we'll begin this chapter with the meaning of nationalism. So the word nationalism it is the feeling of oneness amongst the people living in a territory or the country. So nationalism is all deals with the feeling of oneness. Oneness, that means, that says we are all one, right? So if we are living in a country, so our very common identity is, the very first identity is Indian. So we all are Indian, and that is why this is the basic idea of nationalism, that is the feeling of oneness. So what happened in this? We have to start from the First World War that was broke out in 1914 and last till 1918. So in this video we're going to talk about the First World War. Here is the First World War that helps in the growth of nationalism in India. So how this World War helped in the growth of nationalism in India? What was the relation basically? The Britishers imposed war expenditure on India. Income tax was introduced, custom duties were raised. Prices of essential goods doubled during the war period. Why it was all doubled? Because the taxes was introduced, because the taxes was increased. Not only this, the Britishers, they have adopted a method, they have adopted a policy called forced recruitment. Forced recruitment was made into the British Indian Army. So the Indians were recruited in the British Army, and it was been forced by the Britishers. Crop failure resulted in the shortage of food material. Influenza epidemic spread in many parts of India. Millions of people lost their lives. So that was the consequences, that was we can say the results of World War, and because of that the people, they rose against the Britishers, and that is why it helped, like World War helped in the growth of nationalism in India. Next, we have to talk about, if you're talking about nationalism in India, so we have to talk about Gandhi and Satyagraha. So what is this all about? So Gandhiji came back to India in 1915. So Mahatma Gandhi, right, he came back to India from South Africa in 1915. He introduced a new powerful method of struggle called Satyagraha. So what is this all about, Satyagraha? What is this? Let's see. What is the idea of Satyagraha? So Satyagraha literally means holding on the truth or search for truth, or truth force, we can say. It was a non-violent struggle introduced by Gandhiji in the Indian national movement. It persuades the opponent to understand the truth if the cause was true, and if the fight was against injustice, then physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor, right? So this is how the Satyagraha was being organized by Mahatma Gandhi. And what are the examples that, like in Satyagraha, how the people, they protested against the Britishers? It was hunger strike, peaceful demonstration, strike, hartal, and non-cooperation with the government are some of the methods of Satyagraha. So when Mahatma Gandhi came back to India in 1915, so he toured almost all the places 1 year till 16, and the very first Satyagraha that he started in India, it was Champaran movement. It was a movement of workers in indigo plantations of the Champaran district of Bihar. It was against the oppressive plantation system. So Mahatma Gandhi helped the peasants of Champaran as well. Then in the very next year, Mahatma Gandhi helped the peasants of Kheda as well. So crop failure and plague epidemic made the life of the farmer miserable in the Kheda district of Gujarat. So they've started a movement under Gandhiji's leadership with the demand for a reduction in land revenue. So 1917, it was a crop failure. It was all the consequences that we have discussed in the World War One. Then, in the very next year, in 1918, Mahatma Gandhi helped the mill worker, also cotton mill worker, that was being forced. Okay, the condition was not appropriate. The working condition was very pathetic. It was a long working hour. The wages was not been fixed, and that is why Mahatma Gandhi helped the mill workers as well. So it was not only the peasants; it was the mill workers. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi helped. Then the very next year in 1919, the Britishers, they have passed Rowlatt Act. This act gave the government the power to imprison any person without any trial for the period of 2 years. So it was a martial law, we can say, where it empowers, basically this Rowlatt Act, this martial law empowers the we can say the soldiers, the military, we can say, so that they can arrest anybody without any trial for the period of 10 year for the period of 2 years. They can imprison that particular person. What was the aim of this act? The aim of this act was to destroy the national movement by imprisoning the national workers. It was a black law because it was against the basic human rights. Then what was Rowlatt Act? If question comes, write a short note on Rowlatt Act. Then what can be write? Here is the Gandhiji organized a non-violent Satyagraha against the Rowlatt Act. A hartal was organized on 6th of April 1919. Rallies were conducted, shops were closed down, workers conducted strike, transport and communication system came to an standstill, we can say. So these are the ways of non-violent, right? These are the ways of Satyagraha. So a Satyagrahi is doing this kind of thing. This protest led to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, right? So what happened in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre? What circumstances led to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre? On 13th April 1919, a public meeting was organized at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar to protest against the arrest of national leaders. Many villagers who came to attend a fair were also present in the park, right? So General Dyer reached the meeting place along with the British troops. He ordered the troops to fire. The fire lasted for nearly 10 minutes. More than thousands of people were killed and many were wounded. This incident is called as the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So basically General Dyer, we can say, initiated this act to create a fear in the minds of the Indians. In fact, the General Dyer wanted to create a terror in the minds of the people, and because of that he done this inhuman act.